All right, thank you. Okay, we'll move on to our consent agenda. I'll ask council members if there are any items they would like to pull for individual consideration. Councilman Saldana?
Sure, Mayor. Item number 13.
Okay. Councilwoman Gonzalez?
Item number 10 and item number 28.
10 and 28. Councilman Ward? 7, item number 7. Okay, are there any others? Oh, Councilman Trevino.
Item number 8.
Number 8. Okay, so 26. Okay, so we have items 7, 8, 10, 13, 26, and 28, which will receive individual consideration. Mr. Finger's not here today, so we'll move on with the agenda. I'll entertain a motion for approval of the consent agenda. Oh, I apologize. There is one item that has not been pulled where there are some folks signed up to speak on item number 21. There's a group called SAMBA, Stanley Mitchell, Nikki Coons, and Georgia Lejos. Would you all like to speak at this time? SAMBA, Stanley Mitchell, Nikki Coons, and Georgia Lejos.
Mayor Taylor, council members, thank you for serving. I'm Stan Mitchell, a taxpayer in Joe Cryer's district. Georgia Lejos and Nikki Coons have given me their speaking allowances. I'll leave a copy of this script so you can review smart grid economics with your financial advisor. Can you approve the pending CPS bond request given the city staff's record of misleading financial representations? We have the streetcar project, the CPS Smart Grid's 20-year, $2.5 billion unreconciled difference between the Gorzel and coalition projections you saw at yesterday's B session, and city staff's failure to inform decision makers that the city bond package cost, the city bond cost, is not $850 million, but more like $1.35 billion when interest, issuance, and promotional costs are included. The open records request of Mr. Gorzel for the actual total cost will be distributed at the end of my presentation. Why must I request this? If we apply the same markup for interest, issuance, and promotional costs of the CPS $580 million bond package, do the CPS bonds costs over their term increase to $899 million? Let's review deceptive reporting in the context of this council's financial responsibilities and the resources you have to discharge them. 1, you must critically evaluate financial proposals to wisely spend taxpayer money. Critical financial details were omitted from the streetcar project espoused by the VIA bureaucracy. VIA channeled their streetcar proposal through city staff, which did their, quote, due diligence, unquote. Deputy City Manager Pat DiGiovanni, who reported to Cheryl Scully, convinced City Council on October 11, 2011 to approve VIA's streetcar project. Mayor Taylor, then a council member, voted for the project based on DiGiovanni's representations. As numbers guy for our streetcar coalition, I challenged Ben Gorzel's project financials. Gorzel, who reports to Cheryl Scully, refused to describe the, quote, due diligence, unquote, that he conducted. Following her shelving of the streetcar, Mayor Taylor's campaign literature advised that she blocked a wasteful streetcar project. Wasteful was demonstrated by our financial analysis at the time, but you relied on the advice of city staff. Streetcar, enthusiastically advocated by the city staff, was terminated after 34 months of stonewalling and misrepresentation by VIA, ending as a $18 million project costs that were recognized. Did staff do anything to protect Mayor Taylor and you council members from this embarrassing fiasco? What city staff members were fired for fraudulently representing streetcar economics? Mayor Castro then and Mayor Taylor now need a direct report, financial expert, a council resource to identify loser projects early. Number 2, City Manager Cheryl Scully is your employee whose performance you are required to evaluate. Which of you is qualified to conduct such a review of her financial activities? You may think, that's not my area of expertise. My point precisely. This is your job, and you lack the qualifications to do it. Mayor Taylor needs a direct report financial expert to help you perform your duties. Number 3, you have to regulate CPS Energy, currently an unregulated monopoly. The Texas PUC has ceded the regulatory function required for utilities, which are natural monopolies, to our mayor, city council, because CPS is a city-owned utility. You may not be aware, but you are not a qualified regulator. In 2016, the city received $336 million in payments from CPS. That's 13.6% of CPS revenues, funded by higher utility rates, which became 30.6% of the city's budget, larger than both the year's $294 million of property tax and the $275 million from sales taxes. The mayor city council cannot be both CPS's regulator and its beneficiary. You read in my February 10th letter to the Chairman, CPS Chairman Kelly, an unregulated monopoly and a city staff absent council direction, I might add, does, quote, anything it pleases, unquote. And then there's the stealth tax you support. With each CPS rate increase, $233 million of the $336 million transferred to the city exceeds a reasonable dividend from a privately owned utility. This dodge allows the bureaucracy to avoid raising sales and property taxes, even as the city's stealth tax increases. Unfortunately, this invisible tax you impose on energy disproportionately impacts our low-income cohorts, for whom utility costs are a larger share of disposable incomes. If any of this is news to you, perhaps the council and Mayor Taylor need their own direct report financial expert. 4, you must approve CPS rate increases. But what of the smart grid programming that manages the 12 additional data elements smart meters measure and transmit to implement CPS's announced time of use rates and critical peak pricing, increasing the revenues and taxpayer bills in the process? Complex and arcane smart grid software may be impossible to audit without the participation of smart grid system programmers. Mayor Taylor needs a direct report financial expert to be a financial resource. 5, your task is to support city commitment to, quote, providing transparency and open government in its citizens, unquote. But consider our pursuit of smart grid economic truth. CPS EVP Chris Euchster told City Council on June 11th, 32 months ago, that there was a 12-year payback. Information that was provided to the mayor was interpreted not by an independent consultant, by Ben Gorzel, who reinforced the original assessment that was made. It's if the clock is correct, I'm just about out of time. Time flies when you're having fun. Fortunately, I have prepared a copy of the presentation, which I'll leave with you for your review. Let me go directly to the bottom line. We need to study the bond proposal more carefully. What if bond proceeds will be used to cover a cash squeeze? Here are 2 of several distress flares President Gold-Williams set off at yesterday's meeting. We are building our strategy because it's broken. Quote, people with solar arrays want to push power from their homes to the grid, but we are not equipped for that. We are working on ways to handle two-way power, unquote. CPS has financed an expensive constellation of residential and commercial inputs generating power they can't use. CPS is in trouble. Upon your request, I will translate Gold Williams' comments into a cohesive cry of desperation, which it was. Who's running this city? Not we citizens or you, our elected representatives, because you have only as much control as Ms. Scully cedes to you. She has all the information, call it power, and you lack the expertise to evaluate her inputs and restrain her decisions implemented personally or through surrogates. I voted for Joe Cryer and Ivy Taylor and did not vote for Cheryl Scully. It appears Mayor Taylor will not hire a direct report financial expert as proposed to avoid a confrontation with Ms. Scully. Management is hard work. It requires confrontation. We have failed to manage the city manager, and you have not moved to make unelected bureaucracies accountable. Not VIA,
Thank you,
not
Mr. Mitchell.
CPS, not SAHA, and not this city staff.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
We have a motion and a second for approval of the consent agenda. Please vote. Motion carries. Item 7.
Item number 7 is an ordinance authorizing a lease agreement with the United States Customs and Border Protection for the General Aviation Federal Inspection Station for the San Antonio International Airport